Welcome, everyone, to the Songwriters on Process podcast. My name is Benno Papari, and on this podcast, I take a deep dive into the writing process behind some of the world's best songwriters. By way of background, I am a former English professor. I have a PhD in English language and literature, and I'm a writer myself. So this is a conversation about writing between two writers. My goal has always been to treat songwriters the same way that we treat prose writers, just as writers, plain and simple. So that's all we focus on. I don't care about tour stories, favorite bands, how bands get their name, favorite foods, anything like that. This is, again, a deep dive into the songwriting process with some of the world's best songwriters. And with that, let's get into today's episode. Here is my context-free quote from today's podcast episode with Mitch Rowland. The decision has been made, and now it's time to fuck off. Now, Rowland was not talking to me. He was actually talking about his revision process, but I thought that was a great quote to start with. But first, let me give you some background. Rowland is, he has a new album out called Whistling Pie. It's fantastic, but he is also the guitarist in Harry Styles' band. He has co-written with Styles on all of Styles' solo albums. He has also co-written two of Styles' biggest hits, Watermelon Sugar and Golden. Incidentally, Rowland's wife, Sarah Jones, is the drummer in Harry Styles' solo band. So, with that background, again, Rowland's new album, his solo project, is called Whistling Pie. But back to that quote, he was not talking to me or at me. He was not angry. If you know Mitch Rowland or heard him talk, he's a very chill guy. He was talking about when he revises and when he crosses things out with that pencil, how he scribbles things out and wants to get rid of them forever. So I love that, the aggression in the revision process. But we talked a lot in this episode about how the ideas come to us. And he told me that he gets a tremendous amount of shower water on his phone because of the number of ideas he gets, the eureka moments in the shower while he's taking a shower. And I talk to songwriters about that all the time, why we get our best ideas in the shower. He also gets them when he's mowing the lawn. I love it. We talk about that too. And takes a walk. He lives in the British countryside. He and Sarah Jones live in the British countryside, very pastoral setting. And they take walks every day. And he said he never takes music on his walks because he uses that as a time to kind of think, contemplate, and get ideas. So I love that stuff. I love this episode. We had a lot of conversations and went deep into the creative process on this. Again, Mitch Rowland he has got a new solo album out. It's called Whistling Pie, but he's also written a bunch of songs with Harry Styles. We did not talk about Harry Styles at all, but I love this convo. Anyway, here's my episode with Mitch Rowland. I love the new album.
Thank
Great.
you.
I love it. And I always start with the basic question to songwriters, and that is it important to create in some fashion every day? Or do you feel like pushing it will, if you don't feel like it's happening, pushing it will make things too stale?
For me, it's probably a little bit of both. I don't force myself to write. I'm interested in playing every day or as much as I can. And I just kind of leave guitars in corners of room, just kind of like it's always in reaching distance wherever I am. There's a couple songs on this record that, a lot of them were new. A couple were kind of in an old pile of songs that I thought, oh well, actually I think these help. I didn't forget about them, but they helped create the arc of the record, and I thought, well, I'll re-record them and give them a proper release. But they're like Really Ready was an interesting song. I had a voice note from 2017. And I was just kind of like, I was partially clearing stuff out, partially fishing. Just like, well, what is all the way back here? And only a tiny bit was kind of realized. And, but I never every once in a while I'd pick up a guitar and kind of play it and refresh my memory. And it was one of those things that I did force myself to do it, and I never do that kind of thing where I took this part that it was only like the bridge or something, and I just figured out the rest of it. And this happened at the end of the record, so it was like, oh, that was definitely a missing piece. And then when I bought this 6-string banjo, that totally made me realize what it needed to be. But that was, I don't know, there's maybe something in that where like maybe I should force myself to do this a little more, because I don't know, maybe being 2 albums in, I have a little more gut strength and confidence to just let myself lean into something and see where it goes. Where, the main thing is I made the first record with, you know, partially without children, and I made this record with 2 children. So there was no like, I had to make decisions a lot quicker than I was used to. But I thought I was going to sort of despise that way of working, but I kind of loved it. There was like I learned how to trust my decision making instead of stewing over stuff, which I also love doing.
So we
Sorry,
have
that's a
four
really
kids.
long answer.
No, I have many follow-ups. So we have 4 kids, and so I know that feeling of having no time.
Yeah.
But I find that made me much more disciplined, because back when the kids were young and they were, taking naps, it was, okay, I got an hour, and I would absolutely get more done in that hour than if I sat here for an hour and I had no reason to stop.
Yeah.
So I was going to ask you that anyway,
Can't wait
but
for anything to come to you. Or,
yeah.
you
So
know,
do you find that it's made you more disciplined and productive, ironically, having less time?
it must have, yeah. It feels good though, I don't there was I lived by it for a little while, but I think it was in this Jose Gonzalez doc that I think he made himself, and he was, I don't know, it was around those first 2 records he made, and he was quite young, but I loved hearing him admit how long he takes to write music. And on one hand, I know it doesn't matter how long it takes, but there's more people that want to tell you how quickly they made it as opposed to how long it took them. But I loved that, it kind of gave me permission to take my sweet time. But I don't know. I don't really know where I'm at with that, but it's nice to do both.
Well, are you less trustful of the ideas that happen quickly, the songs that come all at once? Are you less trustful of those? There's some
Um,
people, and not just songwriters, writers, who will tell you they don't trust ideas that happen that easily.
that doesn't happen too often, so I'll take them when they arrive. But no, it's more there is like One In, One Out, which is track 2. I spent all summer coming up with it, almost maybe 2 dozen arrangements. I was getting I was getting too nitpicky, and I also do this with the track order as well. I try to figure out the track order, and I'm 0 for 2. I have to surrender to Rob Schnapp, who's very good at arranging that stuff. So we end up doing that stuff together. But it was the same with the One In, One Out arrangement. I could not hack it, and I was coming up with new arrangements all the time, logging them, going back to the beginning. Like, I do not know where these parts fit. Um, but sat in front of Rob, and 2 minutes later, it's nailed to the ground, perfect. Well, not perfect, but what it needed to be.
I imagine there's a fine line, or what is the line between saying, I'm going to work on this, I got to see this through, no matter how long it takes, whether it's all summer, or saying, fuck it, this isn't working. When does that switch over happen?
Um, I don't know if I've just I don't think I completely bailed on anything this time around. I kind of just, a lot of the times I'm in England and Rob's in LA, so when we set the time aside to meet up, that's with you know, I'll, I kind of save up all my intention for those moments, and I know what I'm gonna run by him and get to the bottom of it. So I kind of just put him in uh, the standby pile. Um, but
But as a writer, though, don't you? I mean, I could just as easily hear someone say, "I worked on this all summer. It's not happening," and just give
yeah,
up on it. But yeah, but there has to be some songs where you
that
can
was
work
kind
on
of
them
that
for.
one. Yeah,
It was, yeah.
that was a little bastard that I tolerated.
But
And it
you,
was gonna be. I really. It was like a. I jokingly called it my Mariano Rivera. I only saw it closing out the album. And when it was all said and done, Rob said, "Well, what if we open with it?" And then, yeah, there's an instrumental at the top, but what if we open with it? I was like, "Oh, that would actually be really great too." And then when I finished, I think last song I recorded was "Standard Size Knife," which ends the record actually, but I didn't see that happening either. So I stumble across these surprises with Rob as we kind of lay them out on the table at the end. I love that part, but it's also the part that drives me crazy the whole way through. At this point, I know I'm not going to get it right, so maybe I'll scale back a little bit.
those you mentioned old. I think your phrase was "old pile of songs." So, do you just have? Are there somewhere stored? How big
No,
is that pile? No.
it's not that big at all. It's just, you know, there's a handful that I remember, and maybe at certain points gave up on or forgot about them. But I don't know. Certain new songs remind me that I have certain old songs. Um, which definitely happened on this record. But I don't overwrite. I don't know. I feel like I write with a certain amount of intention where once I've once I've kind of got, more than an EP's worth of music, or whether that's 4 or 5 or 6 songs, I start realizing where they might go in sequence, and I kind of start writing around. I don't know. I see it like a baseball lineup, you got your
Do,
4 spot. What I mean. I don't know. That's how my brain works.
I like the baseball metaphors. I don't get sports metaphors very often with songwriters.
I
Now
don't
that I
even
think
follow
about
baseball anymore, but that's how. Yeah.
it. Are those that pile of songs, as small as it is, or those voice memos or anything? How often are you mixing and matching? A piece from this song, piece from that song.
Every once in a while, there's so many like I mean, that's where I log a lot of stuff is just sitting down playing something. Someone calls my name. Oh shit, let me record this real quick because it's gonna be gone as soon as I put my a shoe on. Um, so you know what? When I'm flying, like on the long haul flights, that's when I guess my little homework assignment to myself is to go through all the crap, and then I begin to star it. And then if it's really good, it gets 2 stars. And then if something's got 3 stars, then it's like, all right, well, count how many 3 stars you got, and then maybe start there and work backwards. If you're, I rarely sit down and try to like fix up old stuff, old ideas, but every now and I don't know. Yeah, I should do it more often because it's fun, but it's also fun to just completely start and finish something new. That feels more
I
valuable when you're in the process, but, it just doesn't matter, does it?
Well, listen, I'm so glad you told me your filing system because songwriters tell me they have thousands of voice memos, but there's no organization. But I
Oh, man, I
very
gotta star the quality, and then, playing in alternate tunings, I gotta tell myself, like, the last 3 strings, what they're tuned to, just as a way of, like, abbreviating, and then I gotta tell myself which fret the capo is on. Otherwise, if I just don't do it, if I just call it, like, uh, Blue Skies or whatever, um there's no way I'm gonna know how to get back to. I can't figure, I'm a dumb guitar player. Uh, I haven't had a lesson, so it's all by ear, but my ears only get me so far.
you're still more organized than 99.9% of songwriters. They don't label them at all.
Well, that's when, as soon as you told me at the beginning, you've done about 500 interviews. How, like, what are like a couple similarities that you see running through most of those people?
So
What comes
that's
up
one
the
of them.
most that,
Yeah.
yeah.
No
Okay.
organization. It's they don't organize them at all. Um, and that they go back, but the advantage to no organization is that it forces you to look at everything and you may find a nugget in there that you would have overlooked otherwise.
Yeah.
But they rarely go back. And I don't hear stars. I hear emojis. Some of them have emoji filing systems. Um, my favorite was, I think Lauren Mayberry from Churches told me she has her ideas in an Excel spreadsheet, which,
Wow. That's intense.
yeah, that's far beyond my capabilities.
Yeah. If my
Um,
phone falls in the toilet, I'm fucked. Like
yeah,
kids'
it's
photos and, my phone barely works because of kids' photos.
so let me go back to the guitars in the rooms because that's
Yeah.
actually I want to explore that because I do hear that sometimes that songwriters keep a guitar in each room, can be different type of guitar.
Mm.
um do you happen to be in that room and you say, oh, there's a guitar, or I need to go find that guitar because it's got this thing that other guitar doesn't have? Like, I guess it's more of a chicken and the egg thing. Do you happen to be in the room and the guitar is there, or is I need to go find that guitar, it's in the other room?
Oh, I'll grab anything. Um, it's funny because the four of us will sit down every morning for breakfast, and I've got a in the corner. I've got an old. It's what the Gretsch that George Harrison played on Ed Sullivan, the '64 um country gentleman, and I probably look at it more than I realize during breakfast, and I don't get to play it every morning, but no, actually, I just kind of wait for my moment, and if I can grab it, I'll get 5 to 6 minutes maybe. And then around the corner, I've got this. I didn't have anything there, but I had a friend of mine, Jonathan Wilson, built this. He builds guitars as well as he does a lot of things. But built a Telecaster and shipped it out to me in England. So it also depends on like what's tuned to what. So like the Telecaster's tuned to open G, and then the Gretsch over there is tuned to something else. So also it's like it's more the tunings that dictate like what I'm gonna go for than the guitar itself. Um but man, I wish I didn't have my stuff spread out everywhere. I've got a lot of guitars in California still that I need to get over here, and um like some really good old Martins and Gibsons that I would love to have out here soon. So I got to stop buying them because I've already got them somewhere else. But yeah,
And
how to
you
say
mentioned
that?
banjo.
Well,
So
yeah, that it's not, it's a banjo for dummies. It's in theory it's a guitar with six strings. I've never I've never attempted to play the banjo, and if I did, I'd make sure nobody is around. Uh, so it's like a
let me
1920 Gibson. I think it's what you would hear on like a Neil Young record, that sort of thing.
Now, here's my, and again, I've never written a song in my life, so I'm only telling you what songwriters tell me.
Uh,
But, and I've heard a lot of them have told me that they intentionally will play instruments that they're not good at, so that
hmm,
it forces a different kind of sound to come out. And
yeah,
gosh, I mean, I interviewed Nils Lofgren from Bruce Springsteen's band. This was like 10 years ago, I think.
and Neil Young.
Yeah, right. And he told me that his wife had gotten him a harp,
Huh?
and he was started to play the harp. He played it badly, but he noticed there were different songs and ideas coming out of it.
Yeah, I
And
love
if he
hearing.
had just
drummers that aren't drummers play because
Oh,
they come up with the most simple fills that you would never, I don't know, never go for in a million years.
you
It's
mean drummers
refreshing.
play? You mean like you mean when drummers drum? You mean not play their
Yeah, it's,
instruments?
if someone's like recording drums on their own song and like they kind of play, I don't know, stuff comes out of it that, I mean, not always, but I would say for me, with, string wise, um, I have been fascinated with like the Weizenborn or lap steel guitar ever since the day I saw Ben Harper play live in 2006. I took an extra ticket off a friend, and this was in Columbus, and I didn't know what I was watching, but it was incredibly captivating. So, it was many years before I ever had a lap steel around, but I also, um, you know, there's one of those behind a chair in the corner. Just I was playing one today actually. Can't play for shit, but it's like billiards as well for me. Like I'm terrible. I'll get a lucky streak every once in a while, but I just love to do it. I love to walk up to the table and play as much as I like to sit down with a lap steel and be bad at it because it still inspires me on some level. So that's that for me. That's enough. I don't put it into songs, but yeah, I think it is good to have something where you're being okay with being at like an elementary level with something. It also just brings it back to like, why do it if it's not fun? Why do anything if it's not fun? So
Yeah.
yeah, at the end of the day, like if you're not enjoying whatever you're doing, what are you doing?
I've got a couple quotes from you. I interviewed the writer Anthony Doerr a few years ago. He wrote a great book called All the Light We Cannot See. And I asked him, and he's a novelist, but I asked him about writer's block, and he said, I don't believe in writer's block. He called it a failure of courage. And that idea that you can't be afraid to write the bad stuff. And that writer's block is a myth. Don't think you're that precious. Everyone has something inside of them. You just got to get the bad stuff out. So
Yeah.
do you believe in that idea? Do you believe in writer's block, or do you feel like everything is in there? Something's in there. You just got to get it out.
Yeah, I mean to answer it simply, I don't think I do believe in it. I believe in being like emotionally paralyzed, but that's not writer's block. Um, I think there's always something to say. Even if you don't have anything to say, that's something. Um, I was doing something last week where I was asked to come up with basically just like I think it was 9 songs that mattered to me. And being a guy that picks up acoustic guitars a lot, it's a bit 101 to reference Nick Drake, but it felt appropriate to throw in the song No because it's a riff. It's a very simple riff on an acoustic guitar. Anybody could play it. And that's the only thing he plays for, I don't know, a minute and a half or 2 minutes. And it's a line or two of lyrics. And I love that it still reminds me that a song can be anything. So, things like that, I think should break the wall that is writer's block for anybody.
And I wrote down emotionally paralyzed because
Um,
you said that.
well,
So,
that's another story.
well, is it, are there times, I guess, I mean, for some people, that's the best time to write is when you're emotionally paralyzed because it's a way to
Yeah.
process things.
If you can find a window in there, yeah.
Is there an ideal emotion when you're most effective as a writer?
Um, I think some sort of, being frustrated
Ooh.
You try to find reason in some, you know, that's I think that's what kind of you start finding um nice ways to say mean things or uh like Fiona Apple's kind of an artist to me that is a master. She's got a black belt and cutting people's heads off with a pretty little song.
I've
And
never gotten
she's
frustrated.
someone that says like I don't write when I don't need to. And I believe her. Like you write when it matters most. I don't make myself do anything every day. I love to play guitar every day, but a song will reveal itself however often or not so often it needs to happen, I think, for me at least.
I've never gotten the answer frustrated. I love that. That
Oh,
frustrate.
really?
No, because to me to me frustrated would block, but I would block
Oh,
me. But that's just me. But I love that answer.
yeah, it's a little bit like gas in the car, I think.
I love it. I went for a run today and I thought to myself, I hate running, but I love having run. And it reminds me of the
Mhm.
Dorothy Parker quote. She said, I hate writing. I love having written. Um, so how often do you get the urge to write and versus the need? I think there's a difference. I need to write versus there's an urge, like I have to find a place immediately to create. How often does that happen?
Um, I feel like my sort of process, the way it works best is if, you know, if I've kind of kicked around a guitar part enough where I start hearing it as a section, and I try not to label stuff too early on because it's all subject to change. But, if I call something, okay, maybe this is a verse over here, and this is, an A section and a B section. Just keep it simple. I'll have those parts kind of, just like a back and forth or, an interlocking of two parts. And that way I can kind of kick it around in my head wherever I am, you know, walking through the supermarket or in the car doing a school pickup or whatever. I can just play Tetris with words and lines and see where things fit. Um, and if something fits, it goes in the phone or on a piece of paper. And I don't really try to write the song until I've got enough twigs to make a TP. So I just kind of okay, and then I'll go through and like cross shit out or like, all right, start circling lines that okay, well these could be something. And I have to handwrite it. I wish I could I could organize it a lot better if I like typing it out, but I don't know. I gotta cross stuff out and kill that. That's dead. Don't need that.
Uh, all right, let's dig into that because I was going to ask you that as well. So you are, when it comes to lyrics, it sounds like you are more of a pen and paper person.
Yeah, and I really gotta it's just gotta lock in. So I
Okay,
carry
but
it
how about
around and
color of ink, brand of pen? Does that matter?
oh my God, I'm always buying new pens, but I don't know where it's like as soon as I bring them home, they just poof. I used to be so much more organized. Um, we're kind of living out of this old cottage where we are, and man, the toys are coming after us, and the pens are not. um, um, I'd love to get back to you on that, but do you know what? There's nothing better than a pencil, though. The sound of a pencil.
Oh my gosh. So again, I'm just going to quote songwriters. I had Jerry Harrison of the Talking Heads on, and
Oh yeah.
he said that it has to be a felt tip pen because he loves the sensation of the scraping.
Oh yeah.
So it's got to be pencil, huh?
It doesn't have to be pencil. I'll take anything if I can find it. Um, Bic, not my favorite. Gets the job done. I was writing out the lyrics to every song for like the package, and I was using a wide Sharpie. You know the ones that are like
Yeah.
felt great. You find the right angle. It doesn't have to be big and chunky. You find the right angle.
Mitch, I could do an entire website dedicated just to the brands of pens and the color of ink songwriters use. You have no idea the obsession.
Oh man, I would listen to
Um,
that. And then I'd
I
have to
mean,
go down to the shop and buy it all.
the rabbit hole is endless. So, but
Who
the
likes the
pencil
white
thing,
Sharpies? Anybody?
yes, someone did recently, and it's going to drive me crazy because as soon as you said that, I thought someone. I have to go back. It was within the past couple of months that someone said that, and I thought no one's ever said a Sharpie before. Um, so the pencil thing, I'm curious about because we use pencils because we erase, but it doesn't sound like you're erasing. You're just crossing out, right?
Yeah. Yeah. There's no
Now,
erasing.
cross out with a single line or scribble furiously.
Um, you know what? That's a great question. I think I like to strike through it just to confirm the decision. The decision's been made and now it can fuck off. You scribble it out.
So you do
So,
both.
so like two shots. One in the
So
head and then a second one in the head.
right after each other, or is there a few minutes past before you go, okay, I'm definitely not going to use this. I'm going to scratch it out.
Oh yeah, it's discarded. Uh yeah, I mean it's always when you find the next best line. Like, oh, I got it. Okay, you're dead. I got keepers now.
I
Does
love
that make
it.
sense?
It totally does.
Yeah.
But
Like, why
again,
would
the
I need
answers,
that anymore? I just
yeah,
got the better one.
but the
Yeah.
answers I get are incredibly varied. You'd believe me, it's people go as far. Do you scribble horizontally? Do you scribble vertically? Is it one?
Yeah, up and down, always.
Yeah,
Um, what else was I gonna say?
and
Sometimes this is fun when you find when you find like a page that you realized it was like 2 pages ago and maybe I had too much to drink. And there's actually something good on there. And you find it like when the song's done and you think you've got it. And it's like, wait a minute, I could take that line out of there and this could be a better third verse because there's this surprise 2 pages ago, this gift that I didn't even realize I gifted to myself.
can you write well? I haven't asked this in a long time, but I've heard a lot of people say that they write really well when they're hungover
Interesting. I don't
because
know.
you're in your head, right? All the external stuff is you're tuning it out, and you can actually almost feel your brain.
For me, it's when I'm not trying to do anything at all, like in the shower, which is the worst place to write because you can't write anything down.
I've got a solution
But
for
when you
that,
got
by
two
the way.
kids, you don't get to shower all the time. So it's like, well, pick your battle.
What I love about this interview is that I have kids and you have kids, and when you have kids, it's a whole different.
Oh man.
Everything changes. Okay, so there is something that this is an intro to this. Um, before I ask the question, I did read about something recently that solves that, and it is something. It's a waterproof pad. I don't know how it works, but it's something you can actually, for that exact reason, for people who get
Really? Oh
ideas in the
wow.
shower. It's a waterproof pen, something, and pad that you can take with you.
With suction cups, I hope.
I
Stick it to the
don't
wall.
know. I don't know, but it might be. But here's why I asked this because there was an article in the Washington Post, and I always discuss this with songwriters because I'm most fascinated by the when the eureka moments happen. There's an article in the Washington Post about why we get our best ideas in the shower, and it's
Mm.
and it's because when your brains are engaged in unconscious activities that require no conscious thought, That's when the eureka moments happen. They don't happen when you think to yourself, I'm going to have a eureka moment. They happen. And so I hear people get ideas while they are mowing the lawn,
Oh yeah.
chopping vegetables, doing the dishes, cleaning, gardening, something that requires monotonous repetition. That's when the ideas happen. So I was going to explore that with you anyway, but does that happen? It sounds like it happens in the shower, and that's pretty common, but other times as well.
I write emails in the shower, and I you like and I can't like have a I can't discuss like can't talk to Sarah. I gotta like get it into my phone. The amount of shower water that's landed on my phone trying to like, oh, that's a good one. Oh, that's a good one. Oh, what was that? What was that last thing and that whole thing.
But how about when you're doing other things like outside of the shower? Do you ever get ideas when you're doing other repetitious activities?
It used to be mowing the lawn.
Yeah.
Funny because it was, I never wanted to mow the lawn. Um, and once you do that first couple lines in the yard, you get into it, and
Hmm.
then the mind goes somewhere else.
How about walking?
Walking, yeah. I don't walk with I don't, we live in like a rural village. So we've got our loop down, like nice 45-minute loop. I never take music. I stay busy enough.
So do
Not that
ideas
I'm
happen?
trying not that I'm trying to write. It's just like if I happen to put, you might get a line here, a line there, but yeah, it's busy without, you know, going through my phone and trying to I don't even know what to play anymore anyway, so I'm better off without it.
William Wordsworth, a romantic poet, he lived in the Lake District, and
Mm.
they estimate he walked 100,000 miles in his life, which is, if you figure it out, it's some absurd amount every day. But back then, there was nothing else to do. And he
I wonder
composed.
what the I wonder what the average person walks. Do you know?
Well, I don't know, but if you figure it out, it comes out to like 30 miles a day he was doing. It's some ridiculous
Oh,
amount,
wow.
but he composed all of his poems on walks.
Wow. That's good.
So, well, I mean, I use exercise as a way to kind of clear my brain, but absolutely, I find that sometimes I'm flooded with ideas, and I never listen to music when I run, never, for that exact reason, because I use that as a time, as that fertile time for creativity.
Yeah, I never get to, I was doing it with our 1-year-old kind of before he was closer to 1. I could take the stroller around and I wouldn't listen to anything I would see how far I could get, which is normally about an hour. And I don't know. It always felt very productive.
The
And
research
also
behind it.
something that I didn't like mowing the lawn, there was resistance involved. And as soon as I would set off, that went away. I don't know. Brain and
It
this is brain chat now. I don't know what any of it means.
well, they say that boredom is the ideal creative space.
That's also a good word to bring up. Being in the countryside, and I was going to tie that into living in London when Sarah, my wife, and I were living there. I remember one year we made I think in 2019 we made a New Year's resolution to walk. I don't know where we came up with 6, but we said let's walk 6 miles a day, and so we started tracking it, and we already did anyway because it's London. So I kind of missed that a little bit. Well, we were living in LA, and now we're uh in the countryside full time. So LA in the countryside, not amazing for walking. A little easier out here, but it's no London. I loved that. It was so easy to log miles.
And that's it for the latest episode of Songwriters on Process. You can find all of the old episodes on all major streaming platforms and probably some minor ones as well. You can also find them on the Songwriters on Process website. I started the site back in 2011, so that means there are hundreds upon hundreds of interviews with some of the world's best songwriters. So take a deep dive into some of those episodes. They are all great. Of course, I'm biased. Also, shameless plug, my book, Desolation, a Heavy Metal Memoir by Mark Morton with Benno Papari, that is me, is out now on Hachette Books and in all major bookstores. Mark is a good friend of mine. He is the guitarist in the metal band Lamb of God. And so we collaborated on his memoir. I'm biased, but that's a damn good book. Again, it is called Desolation, a Heavy Metal Memoir. And lastly, if you want to get in touch, go to the Songwriters on Process website. You can fill out a handy contact form, and it'll get to me that way. You can also email me at ben@songwritersonprocess.com. I'm all ears. Send me your comments, your suggestions, your complaints, people you want me to interview. I get great suggestions all the time. I can't respond to all of the emails because I get a lot of them, but I do read all of them. And let me know your thoughts. If you have ideas for people you want me to interview, there's your chance. And with that, I am out. See you next time.